All right, welcome back to the channel. Max Torn here, and I want to talk about how much profit is possible as an online coach, consultant, or agency when you're scaling from 6 figures a year to 7 figures a year. So if you're currently making 6 figures a year and you want to scale to 7 figures a year, pay attention now, because that's what we're going to talk about. So first off, what I wanted to do is, as a base of this video, I want to show a little screenshot of a WhatsApp conversation we had with one of our clients. His client, together with his partner, made 62,400 euros. That's, I think, $75,000, depending on the exchange rate. Dollar is tanking nowadays. So 62,400 euros last month in January. Now it's February. And cash flow 53,100, which is extremely high compared to the revenue, and expenses 8,900. So again, 62,400 revenue, 53,000 in cash flow, and 8,900 in costs. Roughly, conservatively estimated, if you say, okay, 50,000 in cash flow, 10,000 in costs, that means you only have a fifth of expenses. That means you have 80% profit. How is that possible? Well, most people don't know. Most people don't know how to scale properly. Most people don't know how to position themselves properly. Most people don't know how to have high profit margins. Well, you know, sucks if you don't know that. So first off, obviously, I mean, you're way past this point, but that's the big advantage if you're offering an expertise, right? And if you're not selling a physical product. If you do sell a physical product, you can only dream about 80% profit margin. You can actually dream about having something as low as 20% profit margins. So you're definitely on the winning side as an online coach, consultant, or as an agency there already. Now, I want to re-emphasize here, this is while scaling. So this client here, with the current setup that he has, in terms of employees, in terms of structure of the program, with the current setup, you can easily scale up to 100,000 a month. So that would mean profit margins would be even higher. So the expenses of 8,900 will roughly remain the same as the monthly revenue actually rockets up. So that's even better for them. And the reason why that is following. There's obviously a lot of things at play here that are intertwining. Number one, properly positioned. So this client does not have to deal with a bunch of unqualified leads. In fact, this client doesn't even hear from anybody unqualified, because we've implemented pre-qualification processes in their sales processes. That also means that the positioning in terms of his marketing itself is positioned towards premium client, meaning clients with affluence, clients that actually can afford a premium priced product, in this case, his expertise as a coach. That's one thing you have to realize. The other thing is the pricing per se, right? We've talked a lot about this. If you're making 6 figures a year and you're charging by the hour or by the day or anything along those lines, I mean, hopefully, I mean, if you really get to 6 figures a month with that, you got my congratulations. But you got to move away from that, otherwise it's not scalable. That also means for any type of Skype coaching online and stuff like that, it's completely irrelevant and not going to get you anywhere. The other thing that we've done is team, and this is a bigger point I want you to realize. This is something that we see a lot of solopreneurs get stuck in. They think like, oh, if I hire a team, number one, I have more responsibility, and I'm in fact a 25, 30-year-old man-child, and I don't want to have responsibility. And number two, oh, doesn't that mean the profit margins are going to be lower? Well, you see it here. This client of ours is actually able to have very minimal staff, but that staff is, number one, highly trained, and number two, extremely productive, because we don't just hire a bunch of people and train them by hand for weeks until they're able to do maybe their jobs 60% as good as we could do it. No, what we do is we build a very, very rigid structure around our own staff that then allows the staff just to be the button pushers, if you will, around the structure. You can almost imagine it like the thing that I always imagine as a nerd is the Matrix Reloaded. If you remember that movie, great movie, very underrated actually. Matrix Reloaded, where they defend the city of the humans against the machines, and they have these like mech bots, these like robot mech bots, and these robots, you know, they have their machine guns and they're powerful, and all you do is you sit a human into it, and then the human shoots, and then you can exchange that. You know, one human hops out, the other, or falls out in this case, and the other human just gets in and then continues the work of the mech bot. If you really think about that, that's exactly how we're doing it with setting up structures for our employees, for our team members. It doesn't necessarily matter who is steering or controlling that mech bot. The mech bot itself does most of the work, and that's exactly what we do with our structure. That means, more specifically, to get back into the real world, number one, internal trainings. It completely boggles my mind how business owners still just hand train their staff as if you got nothing else to do. As if you got nothing else to do, then the new videographer is coming in today, and I, as the CEO of a 6 or 7 figure company, I am training this person, like as if you don't have anything better to do than that. What you should do instead is you create a very, very rigid internal training structure and videos that basically explain to whoever comes into your company what their job is. And this sounds almost ridiculous, but if I look at our company, we right now have 21 employees, 20, something along those lines. And we're making multiple 7 figures a year. And even with our current setup, we can easily scale up even more. I think with our current setup, we might be able to scale to 8 figures a year, maybe 4 hires, 5 hires maximum more, but ultimately it's possible. And the internal training we have, it's hundreds of videos. I mean, we have the internal training for our videographers alone is probably 100 videos. We have internal training for executive assistants. We have internal training for executives that are in management positions. Internal trainings for pre-qualifiers. Internal trainings for our coaches, for our one-on-one coaches, for our VIP coaches. Internal trainings for everything. We have internal trainings for how the coffee machine in the home office works. We have internal trainings to where you park your car and so on and so forth. It's all internal trainings. That means, to get back to my client here, when my client makes a new hire, that client comes in and just spends the first 2-3 weeks in front of their computer at the office learning. And this is all time that you would have to invest yourself in teaching them, unless you create an internal training structure so it's automated, right? So even if that person now has to quit for whatever reason, you just sit someone else in and that person will then learn. You can easily teach them 80 up to 90% of work just via internal trainings. On top of that, you set up controlling mechanisms that could then either be done by you or by another instance that makes sure that all the KPIs are being held up. The structuralization of your employees literally is the alpha and the omega when it comes to productivity. And it's one thing to say like, okay, great, my team is productive. But on the other hand, again, you must realize the more productive your team is, the higher your profit margins towards the end, right? If your team is productive, you can easily scale to 100K a month, 120K with a 5, 6, 7 person team. Whereas if your team is not productive, you have to hire more people. And then you have this huge empty, you have like a bunch of empty employees whom you have to pay a lot of money, but their productivity doesn't even justify the price at the end of the day. So you have to realize that. So we've talked about pricing. Pricing has to fit. Pricing definitely has to be in the premium segment. If you don't know how to do that, there's easy ways to transition from a cheaper pricing over to a more premium pricing. You twist the knobs a little bit on the equalizer to make your regular program into a premium program, and that also means you yourself, if you have proper staff, get removed more and more out of that equation, and you can actually focus on what's really important, and that is number one, generating income for your company and therefore also for yourself, and number two, being there for our clients, right? When I'm working with my clients, completely regardless of at what stage that client is, that client still gets to see me, I wouldn't say in person, but over Skype, over Zoom, at least on a weekly basis, multiple times a week in most cases. So whether that's a beginner client who's paying just a small 4-figure sum, or whether that is a premium VIP client who's paying multiple 5 figures to be working with me, you will see my face, and I can do that because I've removed myself from anything that is standardized, from anything that can be delegated within my company, and I'm removing that from myself and delegate it to a staff that is highly trained that is highly productive, and therefore I do the things as a business owner that I'm supposed to do, generate higher revenue and being there for the clients. And that is literally all there is. So ultimately, to answer the question, how much profit is possible when scaling your online coaching or agency business, we've seen it all. We've seen it up to 80% profit margins, like the example I've given you. But even if you're on the lower end, we're talking about 50%, 40% profit margins as you're scaling. I'm not talking about at the end of scaling, as you're growing the company, which is fantastic. That is just gigantic if you really think about it. And once you've really fulfilled the potential of your staff and your systems and so on and so forth, profit margins can remain as high as up to 80%, if not even in some rare cases even higher. It's all a matter of proper positioning, proper pricing, and proper staffing and the training of that staff. Really is that simple. We've done it multiple times with both my 7-figure businesses, done it multiple times for our clients' businesses. If you also want to be part of that and you do want to scale your online coaching, consulting, or agency business the right way, while at the same time remaining with very high profit margins, then go ahead and book a free consultation call with us right now. There's a link down in the description below. You fill out the application, takes you 2 minutes to fill it out, and then we can also talk about what exact steps you need to take in order to scale your business. So, link down in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and talk soon.